definitely getting weird. What is going on, people? We are live once again with the next podcast. I will say, I did it again, people. I thought we were live. I went in, started the show up and everything like that. And for some rhyme or reason, I hit go live on YouTube and it didn't respond. So I had to bring it all back together. What is going on, chat? Really, really good to see you guys. Thank you for being so patient. We are live and we are running now. So, let's get into the intros real quick. It's starting with the man coming live from the 405, and he's just trying to talk to the intelligent gamers out there. K Mega.
What's happening with you? What's happening, everybody? In the chat, I have returned for another week of chaos. I don't know what the hell bot's going on. Yeah,
dude,
but I'm here
the go
to
live
save the day.
button. It doesn't want to listen to me. I just click it and run.
Okay. Yeah, I got you. Thank goodness I looked to check because we would have still been talking and probably been in the topics by now. And then and Fred would have lost his time because nobody would have heard it.
I'm just saying right now, mouse and keyboard's not for bot, man.
Oh, man.
Not for bot.
No.
Yeah, give him a controller.
There's a reason why I don't game on PC, man. I'm telling you. I'm not doing it.
Bot's the only one that needs aim assist with a mouse.
Wow, bro, you're walking all over my brother K Mega's intro right now, man.
You appreciate it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, man. Look, listen. I've dealt with Don, and for the last a couple of months now. It's just the Don and K Mega show. It's us streaming. It's us Devin the Gamer after GRG last night. I swear I hear his voice in my sleep. It terrifies me now.
I feel bad for you, man.
Because now I hear, do you want some potato salad? God damn it. No, I don't want no potato salad.
It's like
anyway.
Waking up. He's like, I don't want potato salad for breakfast.
It's like a sitcom turned nightmare,
like,
man.
What? Yes, yeah. Like at first it was great. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking to a developer. Everything is cool. You know what I'm saying? I'm seeing his work and all this and everything. And the next thing you know, it's like, potato salad is the only thing I get out of it. But it's all good, man. Glad to be here with my brother Xbox 448 and with Pred, the non-brother. And that's what we doing. Let's go!
Oh, damn.
I will say graphically, the Don does some very impressive work. So speaking of that, yes, we have an indie developer on the panel, a part of the family. It is time to stand up. Show that respect. Kiss that ring. The Don.
Yeah. So, what work are you referring to? What did I show you recently?
It hasn't been too recent, but I've seen things over the number of years that I have known you, bro. You know what I'm saying?
You've seen the super secret stuff. Gotcha. The stuff that's the stuff that gets on the cutting room floor. So just so you know, they're bots. So it's gonna get even better when it's finally released. So
I can't wait, bro. Are you still working on your game, by the way?
Yeah. Every other day, man.
Every other day.
I got like 60 hours of work weeks with the studio I work with, which I'm not complaining, but it's just that's how life is, and so you have to squeeze what you can outside of that. The deadlines I'm working with, so it's just slow. I mean, that's just how that sort of thing goes.
Yo, shout out to Rico. He's throwing up 3 rings for people. Yo, kiss that ring, man. Yeah, Don, it's great to have you on, but I got to move on to quite possibly the unsung hero, possibly the MVP of this panel right here, my brother Predator.
What up, everybody? Happy to be on another Saturday on the show with Don. Yourself, I won't recognize the other motherfucker on here.
Damn.
That dude is so disrespectful to me.
Did something happen on Xbox Live or something?
I'm almost sad, but I know I'll get his ass back later in the podcast. So I ain't even worry about it.
I have a feeling K Mega was supposed to revive Pred and just forgot about it or something. That's the feeling I'm getting there.
Man, but now people think that me and Pred have issues. It's crazy, man. Me and Pred is just ever since he started talking shit, I started talking shit back, and It just what it
It
is.
escalates each week.
Yeah, it gets worse every week. I can't imagine how bad it's going to
I
be.
was nice last week. I didn't say anything bad about you
Mhm.
publicly.
Publicly.
Privately.
Wow.
Privately, he threw you
I
under
can't
the
say.
bus.
I can't say. I didn't say shit about you, but
Oh my God.
that's your
Nice.
girl.
Nice. Now, as we get into the topics, everybody in the chat, can you please do this show a solid and slap that thumbs up button? Share this out on social media wherever you go to talk games. Let the gamers know that we are going in tonight talking about the hottest gaming news, things that have gone on throughout the week within the gaming industry, and it's going to be a really, really good show. So, let's start off with basically the first thing. We got an Inside Xbox this past week. We did a live stream on this channel as well. I do have to say there, in me looking at it, I think they did a lot of like really good things with this Inside Xbox. I feel like people's expectations are still way over the top when it comes to this show. I think Xbox has shown exactly what this show was all about. I mean, I did take some notes here when it comes down to it. In terms of what we got the single player trailer for Grounded. We got some the multiplayer is two player multiplayer for that. Storyline won't necessarily be finished when it's released. That doesn't mean it's not releasing with the story, but we got some news about the Series X, Game Pass announcements, Journey to the Savage Planet, which I gotta say I am absolutely in love with. Absolutely love that game. Human Fall Flat is getting thermal DLC in Game Pass. Yakuza Kiwami is going to Game Pass. New DLC for Journey to the Savage Planet. Now, they didn't say this was going into Game Pass, but the new DLC, check it out, is called Hot Garbage. Absolutely love the humor in that game. Then they talked about the Xbox Game Bar, which people don't know, it's for PC gamers. They had a lot to say in quite a kind of like condensed amount of time. I will say I absolutely loved the pacing. Now let me go to K Mega. K Mega, I know you checked out Inside Xbox. What did you think about the show in general? And what kind of like tidbits of information did you pull from that you thought was interesting then?
Looking at Grounded, believe it or not, how much better it looked. That was one of the first things that I seen that caught my attention. Of course, the Windows upgrade to the game bar, or to the game. Yeah, it's called Game Bar. If you've been with kind of like with Xbox, if you've been kind of like in the alpha or whatever, if you've done the same thing with Windows, you've already dealt with it. And sometimes it's kind of a pain because you don't really know how to operate it. And I'm just now getting to learn how to operate it. But it really does have a lot of cool features to it. Some of the other enhancements that they had, I haven't messed with. So that was cool. And overall, I thought the show was just, I mean, I've never looked at this show as being kind of like close to an E3. I've always looked at the show as being what it is. And it was one of the better shows that Inside Xbox has had. And it seemed like everybody was more focused. It wasn't as hokey. Everybody just gave gaming information. And I think that should be the method going forward. They don't have to be hokey and do little say funny lines or skits. Just display the games and what's coming out, and just have those little interviews that they showed, and just go from there. I thought it was a good show overall. It was one of their best ones in my opinion.
I can say when it comes to Xbox shows in the past, it seemed like they were trying to produce humor. Now, some people you can't script out humor and it come out as funny. Like if you're gonna be humorous, it should be kind of like off the cuff, something like that. Some people they just can't read a script that has something that's supposed to be funny in it and make it funny. You know what I'm saying? I don't think Xbox has those people. Maybe my brother Rukari could do it, because he could probably do anything over there when it comes to Xbox shows. But other than that, I don't see anybody else, man. But yeah, I thought the pacing was great. They gave out a lot of information. Now, guaranteed, they're not like drop the mic, hold on, let me go type something on Twitter type of information. But for people who play on Xbox, for people who invested in Game Pass, for people who like that, play your games anywhere you want to play them, so PC, console, stuff like that, they had information for those people. Let's be real.
No doubt. Yeah, no doubt. And that's the thing that I enjoyed about it. It's just for the Xbox fan, and that's it. It's not for anybody out there that's looking to dog out Xbox, because I mean, I'm sure that they could find whatever that they want to dog it out. But they laid out the games that's coming out, and wanted to touch more on Grounded, and that's why I've been just sticking up on Grounded so much, is because of when they first showed it. Yeah, it looks really good. It
Dude,
looks
did you
really,
see the
really
light
good.
passing through, kind of like
Yeah.
the bugs, kind of like armor, that translucent light? Like people are making fun of the cartoony aspect, which I don't know why. If you look at like the top games being played, being streamed right now, they're all cartoony. Like, I don't understand that.
I've made that point a million times, and it's no different than anybody out here. If you big up Persona with shell shade graphics, then you're a fraud if you over here talk bad about any game that uses shell shading. It's ridiculous to me, or any game that has a cartoon anime look or whatever. But
The top most successful games are not only cartoony but also microtransactions.
yeah,
Oh,
so
Sorry, the two things that people complain about a lot, right?
the most, right,
Yeah. So
right. So to me, it's kind of like. But the game itself, like, it looks like it's got a cool little premise to the story, and you got there's secret places, so it actually looks like the game is pretty big. So I mean, is it going to be for everybody? Absolutely not. I mean, but it's just no different than anybody that's right now. People are playing Final Fantasy VII Remake. I guarantee you, not everybody's playing it, because that game is not for everybody. You should have heard last night on GRG, and everywhere else that I've listened to, that they hope the game does well, but it's not their particular type of game. They're not interested in it. So how is it that, listen, we can't just keep bigging up the same type of big budget games all the time. There are some small gems out there that deserve to be looked into and bought. I know you and 100 was talking crazy about that Savage Planet,
Oh my goodness,
how much y'all enjoyed it. I mean, and the game looks cool. So I haven't got a chance to play it yet, but there's so many games out there to sink your teeth into. But back to the point, it's Inside Xbox was solid. I mean, I've never go in there with crazy over expectations, because once they do drop a bomb, then that's when I can get excited about the show like that. I just go to it to look at for games, just like when I do with the PlayStation. Even though we haven't had a PlayStation Play in a long time, but I don't go in there with these crazy high expectations. I just want to see what games are available and what's getting ready to come out, and just take it from there. I don't care about having razzle dazzle pizzazz. That's what the big conferences is for. If you have every conference or every show that has that same type of E3 feel, then E3, Gamescom, and the Tokyo Game Show will not get the same type of recognition, because they won't get looked at as, they're just the same old. So you have to temper if people out here still complaining about it, you got to temper your attitude about it, man. It's just a show to just talk about games.
Nice, brother. And I will say again, Journey to the Savage Planet, which on my screen on OBS, it just popped up, so it'll be playing, kind of like gameplay will be playing while I say this. I like this game so much that, like, I told O Snaps and I told a couple other people, I'm actually kicking myself in the ass for not picking this game up when it released. Like, I think it's that good so far. And it is a survival game with a huge sense of humor. It is really colorful. It is really interesting. Upgrading your character so you can get to different parts of the planet. Like, it is a lot of fun to play. So, for me, that was the biggest announcement for Inside Xbox. It turned out to be the most meaningful, because it is a game that I have now in my pins on my dashboard, and I will beat this game.
I'm
Grounded.
hearing that I got mic issues for some reason. I'm echoing.
I
I got to
think
figure that
I
out.
think I cleared that up. So I have to kind of like lower the volume on you guys a little bit, and it takes away the echo. So.
Oh, I know exactly what you got to do. Okay, so do I sound better, guys? Because I know that I do want to sound epic, but yeah, I've got to have
Well, dude,
the echo.
That's when I got a dick right now.
I have the power.
if you're gonna sound epic, dude, you got to do a lot more work. That's all I
Yeah,
gotta
man,
say.
pull the dick out your mouth. You'll be all right.
Oh my
Oh!
God!
And
I'm
on
finna go.
that note,
On that note, I'm finna get me some crown. I'll be back.
I hope you guys. By the way, the chat. I hope you guys enjoyed my snipe montage that I put into the gameplay. I was grinding in Destiny 2 to get the Revoker, and the sniper I was using was definitely OP for Crucible. But Predator inside Xbox, man. What were your thoughts? What pieces of information? Because now it's been a few days or whatnot. What pieces of information have kind of stuck with you as like the highlights of the show, man?
Honestly, I don't even go into these anymore thinking like, oh, I gotta, like when they first started coming out, like I felt like I didn't want to miss it. And I would like, plot out time in my day, to watch the show. And this one kind of seemed like it just like when it got announced, it was like it got announced and then it was here. It was time for the show. It seemed like it only took like a couple of days. I don't remember hearing anything about it a few days or weeks prior to it happening. It seems like we got the news like on a Friday and the shit was out like on a Tuesday. So like I really wasn't even prepared for it. But I did tune in. I listened to some of it. I was doing other stuff at the same time, just kind of popping in and out of it. And I don't hold that high candle to it like I used to going in. If they give me something I didn't know, great. If not, then I got some information, and they gave out a lot of information pertaining to what was it, Gears,
Tactics.
was one of the big Gears Tactics. I think it has some CFD stuffs in there, and everything else that you guys have mentioned already. So I mean, it was informational stuff. I mean, the pacing was good. It seemed like it kind of ended quicker than what I was used to. Like that hour and a half. It felt like they were dragging out. I won't grade it based off of the humor and stuff like that. Like that's just like they're reading off a script for the most part, and you can tell. They're all stiff. So, but I didn't have a problem with the show at all. I think it was a pretty decent show for what they gave out and what they discussed. So, anytime we do these, I always I'm the other guy that thinks the other way. Like I always look at the stuff that they didn't show. Like I would have expected some, like maybe some Minecraft dungeons on there. I don't remember hearing about that. And one thing I was really looking forward to is maybe them dropping out information about when they're going to do their E3 show, because I don't think they've mentioned that at all yet. And that's one of the things I took away that I didn't see. I was really hoping to at least get that information out there, considering this is the first show we had. Wow. So,
Lucifer.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna say it then.
So like, I mean, show was good. I mean, like I said, there's every time we see one of these shows, I always take away what I didn't see, and those were the two biggest things for me. And then I know we're gonna get into this topic later, but like it always, seems like when they come out with this show, that we get pre-announced to what's gonna happen. So they kind of take away that thunder, from you, because when you hear about the show, let's say that I don't remember what day the show was. Let's say it was on a Tuesday, and
I think it was
they
Tuesday actually.
Tuesday, and they announced like on a Thursday, the week prior, that they're doing an Inside Xbox, and they tell you exactly what they're going to talk about in the show. It's almost like, why am I tuning in then? Because I don't really care about hearing about CFDs updates.
That could be a double-edged sword, though. I think with that, they're like damned if they do, damned if they don't. If they don't share anything and they put out exactly the show that we saw,
people thought they thought something else was going to be big there.
Exactly.
I get it. But when they also do that, though, like, and again, I said we're going to talk about this later. It opens up the door for other companies to do things at the same time they're doing the show. And you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no,
so
I hear
we'll get into that later. But like, it seems like it seemed like a ghost launch to me. Am I the only one that feels that way? Like, there was like, oh, we're having Inside Xbox next week, and that was it. And then like you didn't hear anything else about it until the day of the show. So like if you weren't paying attention, you would have missed it. Like if you weren't on the internet.
I hear what you're saying, and I think that's probably, and I think this is what they should do. If this is going to be that type of show, the type of show that we're seeing right there, you know, kind of like caters to the people who have Xbox, you know, people who go into Game Pass, the people who play their games on PC and Xbox, and it's nothing really kind of like earth shattering. I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to be like, hey, you know, the week before, hey, we're doing this. They're not going to say it, and they're just going to go live on that day. That I mean, I kind of like that. I think they're training people. I think they're kind of like training people's expectations there. If this is the way that they want to go for the show, does that make any sense, man?
Yeah. And I didn't think it was a bad show because they definitely had worse shows than this one. I just felt like man, they didn't really advertise this very well. Like it was,
No, they
it seemed like
didn't.
it just like yeah, we're having an Inside Xbox. All right, we'll see you guys Tuesday. Bye. And then that was it. And then Tuesday came around like, oh, we had Inside Xbox today. If you didn't catch it, here it is. You know, and then
Here it is.
yeah. So I mean, again, if you watched it, I mean, I wasn't. Again, they've had worse shows. I've seen them do some really terrible shows before. This one wasn't
That State of Decay one, man. Oh goodness, that's probably the worst one that they did.
I will say, how many times they're gonna pimp out fucking Sea of Thieves on these shows? Though I swear,
Well,
it's like
they
every
had
Inside
more
Xbox.
information on it, man.
Every show is every show they seem to have has got a bunch of Sea of Thieves.
There's a reason why, because it's actually pretty popular.
Yeah, I know.
Well, not only
So,
that, but every time they
so
have a
you ride that
show,
wave.
they have something to show in terms of an update and added content. I mean, do you see that though? Like if they have
yeah. I mean,
to
I'm
show,
not. The whole show doesn't need to be surrounded just based off Sea of Thieves.
arg. That was my weak impression of a pirate, man. Yo, shout out to the chat and shout out to Lucifer hitting that super chat. He said, shout out to K Mega's fake beard. Battle Toads.
That's not a beard. That's ashy. His chin's ashy.
That's like the chick with the beard. You know who I'm talking about? I see pictures of her on the internet. Like I think she actually has a beard though, but it's all like perfectly lined and stuff like that. Yo, shout out to FC Violent and my brother Invader, who I saw in the chat as well as everybody else that is, you know, a part of the show being in the chat. Crispy Bomb is in the chat as well. Crispy Bomb could not make it today because he had to go to his girl's house so she can do her classic reach around. That's what he told us. I'm just saying. And I don't know why she does the reach. I don't think that's how it's supposed to go. But Don, let's see if you can follow that one up, man. What did you think?
I'd rather not, but okay, go.
Dude, there's no one left. There's no one left on here.
I know you saved that, and then you just added me on there. I got you.
Meet Buddy. Oh, yeah,
All
this
right.
is perfect for you to talk over. Let me know what you thought about Inside Xbox and kind of like any of the highlights that you would like to talk about, bro.
Well, I mean, I think they're doing the things that I've been asking for, right? Is do shorter sections, less the BS, less the fluff. Just kind of get straight to the point. This is something I've been saying for a while. That way, if you're doing something that people are not interested in, because you're going to get a mixed group that's going to be looking at these things, they only have to endure it for a certain period of time and then move on to the thing they're interested in, if that makes any sense. So I think that's good. I think it's ironic that we're kind of pretty much all under quarantine, and we're one of their best shows was the lowest production.
Everybody's
right?
separated, yeah.
yeah. So and as I said, like we're very critical of them when they don't get it right, and when they do get it right, we have to also be equally say, hey, that you're onto something, and that's what I've been wanting from is more structure, a format that gamers can follow, if that makes any sense. So they always do the interview sections like the second thing, or you know what I mean, with a developer or whatever it may be, so they know where people are not interested in that particular part of the show, they can tune out, and then the things that are going to be interested in, they know what's around the corner and it gives them something to look forward to. So that's I think they're on the way. They just need to keep at it, and they're just gonna get better with time. And then stop scripting humor. Just stop.
Yeah,
Just
yeah. They can't do it.
Don't no, seriously, don't do it. Like humor is something naturally occurs amongst friends. So as you guys work together more, it will cap and it will become more natural in regards to that. And honestly, I think some of the best humor is when you don't realize you're being humorous. To be totally fair with you,
Don lives his
after
entire life like that, by the way.
I live totally like that. Like Bot will laugh at something. I'm like, I must have said something because I have no idea what just happened, right? So, and I think there's something to be said there, right? That brings that friendship, um, sort of environment for people to watch, right?
Makes it
And
genuine, man.
yeah, it makes it very genuine. And so, that's as I said, like don't script humor. Script the main talking points, and then if some interaction happens, just let it flow. Let those happy accents happen. That's the only way you're going to get humor to work on that show. But in the meantime, stop writing the script for it. It just doesn't work.
Nice, brother. Yo, shout out to Gotti. I think it was H2O Gotti or something like that, who said something about me lying about my son going to 343 Industries. Dude, I did not lie. He got picked for a game
Yeah.
development program, and he was actually over on the West Coast, which is the direct opposite coast that we live on. He was over
I
on the West Coast.
I can confirm that Bot was the most proudest father moment. Was his son going to
Yeah,
343?
yeah. I was like, "Can you
Like,
take me with you?" Like somehow, some way.
if I can't go, at least my DNA is there. But yeah.
Jacking off
So,
in letters and mailing that shit off.
whoa,
Oh
whoa,
no,
whoa.
dude!
Well, pro tip: don't put Pred on that Xbox show. I mean, that's just going to be a little too much.
I think it would do
3.
great. I think it would get
Ah.
great ratings, man. What are you talking about?
Yeah, maybe not the type of people they want watching it. I'm just going to say that. So, but
I'll be
yeah,
politically correct.
yeah. Well, yeah, I'll teach you the ways.
No.
So,
Gotti, I will let you know. I believe I am one of the most consistent YouTubers in this community, and I never feel a need to lie, bro. It's
it's one of those things you're either going to have to take it at the face value or not. And
yeah,
it,
definitely agree
that's
with
harsh
you, man.
reality. So.
Nice. Now, Don, were there any kind of like with the information, because they have XSplit and they have Razer kind of like incorporated into PC gaming, Windows Game Bar. Of course, there was Grounded. I did talk about the Game Pass kind of like announcements. Brother, you have to play Journey to the Savage Planet. I think you'll absolutely love it, man. But was there any pieces of information that kind of stuck with you after the show?
I thought they did much better job showing off Grounded this time around, right? Like
Yes.
it was never even on my radar. And be honest with you, it's not the type of game for me to be fair. Even after the better showing, but I think it's a win when you can get me to pay attention to something I'm not interested in. If that if that makes any sense, yet that I'm like, huh, I'm kind of more curious about it. It's not the style game that I'm into, but I'm more curious about it because they have interesting elements. I like how the fact that when they're doing the tower defense stuff, like when you chop down things, it's not just one thing. There's several things you gather afterwards, just small little
And it's like
details like
grouped up in
that.
your hands too. Like it's not
Yeah,
not in a book bag or anything like that. Like
yeah,
you're carrying that stuff.
or you can just grab one if you wanted to, or have someone else grab the others, or whatever it may be. In regards to that, so I think it just showed off much better. I think they did a much better showing, explaining what the game is about, and that's something Xbox struggles with. So I'm just happy to see them show a game in the best possible light, and hold my attention on a game that I wasn't interested in. Really, it wasn't even on my radar.
Mm.
To be fair with you, so I thought that was a really good job there. The PC stuff. I mean, guys, get ready for this. Xbox is PC, PC's Xbox, vice versa. Like, PC is going to be part of the conversation. It needs to be part of the conversation, right? We're playing more and more with PC gamers all the time, right? So they're equally just as much as the console guys. You're not the only child anymore.
Mm.
So and I think that's good that they did it, but it didn't spend too much time, right? That's the whole thing. Is if they spent too much time on it, I would say more console gamers would have been a little bit more frustrated with that section. But since they didn't spend a ton of time on it, they got to the point, they explained it, and they went from there. I think that was good. I also think when they were talking about the Series X, it was kind of good for them to. I didn't think they were confusing on any of their previous statements or anything like that, but they reinstated a bunch of things real quickly, just so people are on the same page. They're very aware that the communication is key, and that shows that they are listening. And it may not be me they need to listen to; it's somebody else that didn't get the message right? So, I think that was good that they spend the right amount of time, but they also, at the same token, they just kind of recap because we're switching over generations, and then doesn't allow narratives that are false to kind of just run rampant, right?
Yeah,
So
well, with the Series X stuff, I'm glad you brought that up. They talked about the velocity architecture. I believe they talked about a point where the CPU can pull directly from the SSD at some point in time. And oh man, hold on.
They talked about the storage, didn't they?
they focus a
Yeah,
lot on the storage
and
drive.
they
They
let
showed
it
the
they
story.
they
Yeah,
really
Major
clarified
Nelson
they
sold
really
it. Yeah, it's big.
clarified, storing your games, playing your games, how that will work, what games, to put on the SSD. The actual Series X games are the ones that need to be on the SSD. The other games
You,
they said can be played on the external hard drive. Of course, you're going to get load times and everything like that, man.
but what they also explained, which was they needed to clarify too, was you can store your games on your normal external drive, right?
Hmm.
And then port them back over there. So you can still use a huge, massive mechanical drive, right? And you can have all those games installed, ready to go, and then basically transfer it to the SSD, either the one in the box or the one you're plugging into the box in the back. So
All right. I got you, brother. On that note, I think it's time to go to the other news that dropped early this week. I am switching the graphics over because, guys, we are talking about the brand new Sony DualSense controller. Guys, this caused a lot of going back and forth on Twitter and stuff like that when they actually came out and showed the pictures. I believe it was in an article as well. Coming with features such as haptic feedback, haptic feedback in the triggers. You have the kind of like the hardware inside that were if you like pull a bow, pull a string of a bow in a video game, you can feel the tension in the trigger. Haptic feedback, I believe, also is the rumble. It's a more kind of like advanced rumble system. I'm showing the way the controller looks. I'm also showing the concepts that came out because a bunch of people came out with different kind of like limited edition concepts that I thought looked absolutely incredible. Let me start with Pred here. Pred, first off, what do you think about the look of the DualSense? Now, I've seen a lot of like PlayStation guys, PlayStation YouTubers. People are like on the fence, going back and forth about the aesthetics and all that good stuff. So I want to know what do you think, bro?
I think it looks like a pretty decent controller. I didn't think it was ugly. It just kind of reminded me of the Xbox controller. Just if you just swap out the make it that offset that we have on ours. I mean, it looks almost like the same fucking controller. But I don't think it was a bad looking controller, to be honest with you. Initially, I was kind of like, man, this looks like an Xbox controller. But I mean, I've never really liked their controllers in the first place. I always thought they were kind of light and flimsy feeling, kind of cheap feeling to me. If it's got a little weight to it, I think they're okay. I mean, I gotta touch it first and put my hands on it, but that's what she said. But but I mean, like from looking at like the concept art that I've seen for it, it's actually selling me more on it than what they brought out. I think I don't know if it was K Mega that alluded to this in our chat. Like, he was like basically saying, well, at least we know what the color scheme is like, because I mean they usually match that color of the console of the controller with the console, right?
Yeah. So it looks like we're looking at probably a more white PlayStation this time around, which I don't think we ever had really.
The features on it are good. Like, I mean, I've never really liked that pad in the middle. I forgot what they call it.
Touchpad.
The touchpad. I know it's useful for some stuff in games, from using it from experience, but I just feel like there's a lot of real estate there that could be used for other things. That's just me, but I don't know. I mean, it looks like a decent controller. I'm sure it doesn't have a battery pack, so replaceable battery, should I say, like the Xbox controller does, because that was a thing. But honestly, like with the only exception is like the thumbsticks. If they were offset, I'd be sold, man.
Oh, so really, you are part of the offset thumbstick kind of like community.
Oh yeah, I mean, again, I'm an Xbox guy. Like I'm just used to it. Like anytime I've played a PlayStation game and using those thumbsticks that close, it's always felt weird to me. And that's just me not just playing on my PlayStation as much as I could, but I've never really. I'm looking at it right now. I'm playing with it now, but like I've never really liked that. Even the fucking the switch buttons. I'm so used to it. It's just natural to me because I've been using the Xbox controller for so long. So when I actually go back to a PlayStation controller, it just doesn't feel right to me.
I got you. Now, brother, you heard like the features when it comes to the triggers, adding tension where tension is due in the game. Of course, developers they have to code that into their games or whatnot. Haptic feedback. In terms of the light bar, I don't think this controller is going to be compatible with virtual reality because I don't see a main kind of like light source that a PlayStation camera can absolutely track here. Dude, what do you think about the features? Because the way I'm looking at this, right? I owned a PS4. I dealt with the DualShock 4. All right, I had a list of negatives when it came to that controller, and one of them was the battery life. I know they say it's gonna, that they have a improved battery in it, but you're also dealing with more functions as well, dude. What do you think about the features they're offering? Are these things that you're thinking might be cool? Do you think that they'll have any kind of impact on the internal battery that's in this controller, man?
Yeah. But look where we are now. Like this isn't like 8 years ago where like our phones only last an hour. So like there's been involvements just in the battery capacity of a rechargeable anything over the past year. I mean, like I have one of the latest Samsung phones. This thing can stay on for 3-4 days without dying, and that wasn't heard of like 2 or 3 years ago. So and depending on how much you game, I've got my Elite here and I can game on this thing for almost 2.5 days without it, like all day. Like I did it with the Division and Ori when it first came out without recharging it and thinking twice about
Dude,
it.
I've battery life is incredible on that thing.
I've only had to plug this thing. Like I've only got an indicator that my battery is low twice since
the orange light, man.
Yeah, and it's only happened 2 times, and I don't charge it up all the time. So I think they're fine with that aspect of it. I mean, my issue would be what happens because these batteries die. What's the lifespan of this thing? And that would be my only concern. I mean, if you can't get like 2 years out of this, maybe 3, and you're getting like less than that, and you're replacing these things every year and a half or something like that, because you're just a hardcore gamer like that, I'd kind of be a little upset about that. But who has their same original controller from when they purchased the system till now? Like then they're still using
but
it.
I don't use it.
You don't use it. Yeah, exactly. Like I've never used my my Scorpio edition. I've never touched it ever. I don't think I've ever put batteries in it. Because as soon as I got it, I already had an Elite, and I went straight to that. And I never touched the thing. It's hard to go back to that after you have an Elite controller.
Man, I go through a controller like every 3 to 4 months.
I would go through my original controllers every 3. My Elite controllers, we already had this story. I've got like 6 of those motherfuckers. But the original Elites. But the new one I have now, I've not had any issues with it whatsoever. And so if I'm spending that kind of money on a quality product, I expect it to last a quality amount of time. Whereas this controller for the PlayStation, you don't know what it feels like. You don't know what is it going to be one of those things where the bumpers start peeling off again, or the battery drains so fast you can't use it. We really don't know that. I'm going to hope that because of the improvements we've made with battery power over the last couple of years, that the battery won't be an issue. If anything, it's going to be a wear and tear thing where you're just like gripping it too much, or the rubber's coming off of the
You hear that,
thumbstick
Mega?
and stuff like that.
Gripping it too much causes wear and tear. You heard it
Does.
from Predator, man.
Mm.
You got to use that lotion, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
One thing I will say now, first off, actually, I have two things I will say. First off, I think this is the best looking controller that PlayStation has ever come out with. I like the look of it. I compared it to a BMW i8 in terms of the look, like the white, the black with the blue light. I know our friend Shaggy over there at IGN stole my comparison and said the same thing. But guys, we all know I said it first when it comes down to it. Now, one of my concerns about this is if you look at the joysticks, I had a big issue. I went through 3 DualShock 4s because of the rubber absolutely peeling off of these joysticks. And it looks like the same grade rubber that they used on the DualShock 4. When it comes down to it, another thing I didn't like about the DualShock 4 was how the triggers felt. I felt like they felt flimsy. They felt like really thin. I'm hoping that with all the added tech inside the triggers, that the connection from the flat part that your finger goes on to what goes inside the controller, hopefully that's thicker and sturdier. But I'm really, I will say, I am concerned about the rubber on the thumbsticks.
I will say this too, like before you go to K Mega, like when you look at the palm part where you put your palms on it looks like it's like raised and abrasive a little bit. So that'll help. But like my other concern, I would say concern, it's just a question. Is it just like the timing of this release? Is that not an issue, anybody? What
are you talking about, man?
Like literally, they dropped this news right as Xbox was doing their thing. Right?
If the inside Xbox was touted as being something major, then I would be right there with you on that. But I mean, we're kind of used to.
It's almost like they didn't know what was going to happen, so like let's put something out.
I think they knew. I think they knew. But at the end of the day, I've seen Sony basically starving the gaming community when it comes to any type of information when it comes to the PS5. So when they come
I don't think Kamega agrees with you.
When they come out, well, we will see on that. So when they come out with information, especially something like this, it's something that you can really kind of like dig in and really check out. I'm happy they did it because otherwise, we already, when it comes to the Series X, we know what the controller looks like. We know what the console looks like. We've seen teasers for games coming out. They have indie developers showing games that are going out on there as well. They had Hellblade 2, Project Mara. We've seen the first kind of quote-unquote Master Chief trailer for Halo Infinite. We've seen Everwild already. And I'm like, yo, well, what's going on the other side? We saw the Godfall teaser. We've seen Quantum Era teaser. We got the specs, and then we have the controller now. So, more information. I definitely, I'm happy that they're putting out more information. I think the internet's really going to explode when they show kind of like launch lineups and they show gameplay and stuff like that. But until then, I'm happy getting, something from them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. K-Mega, you heard me. Now, I said that this, in terms of how it looks, the best looking controller that Sony has come out with. I know people have compared it to the Xbox controller, which I can see some similarities there. I can also see a similarity with the boomerang style prototype controller from the PS3 as well. But again, my concerns, the DualShock 4, the triggers, they felt really weak to me. I think they have a good possibility of strengthening them with the DualSense and the rubber on the joysticks, man. But what do you think about the controller, bro?
Overall, the controller itself looks cool. I mean, I have no problem with it. I mean, that's kind of like me saying this thing look. I don't like the controller.
I like that throwback Sony one that I put in there, man. Like that looks awesome.
Yeah, I can't come out and say I can't like the controller and then me tout that I love an Xbox controller, because that's exactly the similarity that that it looks like is pretty much kind of like a hybrid PlayStation Xbox controller, which is fine. I mean, it's if they some people are excited about the of how the controller it has evolved, and that's absolutely fine, right? Uh, Another thing is that I think that's going to be cool is the fact that it's going to and we're going to have a lot of hypocrites out here in
Uh,
these gaming streets, because as we're looking at this, right? As we're looking at all these cool, awesome looking
oh, I already know where you're
pictures
going.
pictures
Oh
of this,
no.
right? The reality is that Sony is going to do this. This is exactly probably where they looked at the aesthetics of what the 360, I mean, what the Xbox One controllers have done, and seeing that they've made a killing off of these, and they're like, "Whoa, we see this, and we can remember that there were stands out there that was completely against that. Why would you care about a controller? Why would you want to sell controllers? Why it should be about games, not controllers. Now you're seeing all of these little cute little pictures of Spider-Man and God of War and Death Stranding, and even have the little cute Mario pictures and all that, and everybody's, oh, get it, beautiful. This is so dope.
Oh wow. Did you see the
Wait.
Iron Man one? No, that was hot.
Hot. But now that, but you know what I'm saying. But the fact of it is now
How'd your voice get so high?
because of the fact, because I
Black
was trying to sound like
Panther.
a stan. I was trying, when I seen the Black Panther, that was clean. But
Yo, for real.
I was trying to sound like a stan for a minute. Hey, PlayStation's the best. We love our DualShock. Okay, so
Who's Stan?
again,
Who is Stan, man?
but Stan is going to love those customized controllers, and that to me, once I see one of these stands throw out a custom controller on Twitter, I'm going to light their ass up. I'm beelining to them and just light their ass up, because for one, it shouldn't be ever about the controllers. Now let's get to the other nitty gritties, right? I have a problem. Now the problems that I have with the controller. That color palette is garbage.
What?
Garbage.
Have you ever seen a BMW i8, man?
Listen. This is not a goddamn car. It's a controller. Okay, so let me just make this point.
But what about when
The
you're playing a
when they
racing
show-
game,
when-
man?
No. Hold on. Listen, check this out.
Okay, man, my
When
bad.
they showed the all gray PlayStation 1 controller, that was hot. If that controller was all black or all white with the blue trim, I've been off like, that's clean. That's what's up. I'm about that. Like, have the PlayStation match that PlayStation blue match that blue line. That would be dope. But listen, hold on, bro. Listen, it's 2020. I'm not looking for no El Camino. I'm looking for something else. That fuck a two-tone. That's gross. Listen. I don't really care about so much about the console look of about what consoles look. I really don't. Because when we get into the comparison and talk about how the X looks, or how the Xbox One Fat look, or how PlayStation console looks, stuff like that, custom consoles are cool or whatever, but I'm not really all big into how they look. I just want them to perform. But controllers is a different issue with me. I like look. You got to look down at these things, right? And I looked down at the two-tone son of a bitch, and I'm like, this is hideous. And then that blue light.
You know why King Mega actually looks down at his controller? Because he's like, what's a Y button?
That's right. I'm
There's
looking
no
for the
A
A,
button here, man.
but it's got the
What
X
is
button.
this?
You know
What is this?
I'm the
Y
king of the A button on Xbox, the king of the X button on PlayStation. But regardless, it's hideous. That two-tone look is garbage. Let it be just one solid color. But that's the one reason why I know. Two things. One is that the console is going to look similar to the controller. We've never seen a controller. Somebody can please tell me when they've seen a controller that didn't look like the actual console.
Except for limited editions when it comes to PlayStation.
I'm talking about coming out.
They're the same.
They're always the same. Yeah, but there's limited editions. You're not going to get a limited edition right
Oh.
off the box.
Yo,
right
hold
off
on
the box.
real quick. Yo,
Yeah.
shout out to Lucifer for hitting up that super chat. But brother, really? Social distancing keeps 6 feet away from Xbot videos? What are you talking about, bro?
Little disrespectful.
That's messy, yo.
Man,
All right.
That's
be
messy.
Listen.
nice to the guy. I mean, I
Yeah.
know he touches his face and his nose all the time, but
Man,
he's
golly.
clean.
Anyway,
Thank you.
then what you're showing that, see, look, and then one thing I do hope, and I said this on Devin the Gamer last night. Now the one thing that will throw me off with the console itself, if it's a tower. Now, if they got it to where it could be like the little box, like we've been seeing in certain prototypes, then I'm not going to have too much of a problem with it, because we already know this console is most likely going to be white, and that's different. That's fine, whatever, right?
He
But
said whatever.
please, because like I said, I don't care about that. But please don't put that blue light on that on if it's a tower. Please, because
they're gonna put it on, man.
If they put
that's
that
gonna be
blue
a power up. It's
light,
gonna be a blue line.
if they got a blue line going all through that damn thing, and then it resonates and comes through, it's going to distract the hell out of me, because I'm going to be like, what the hell? Because I got my PlayStation on my left side, and I got
does the same thing, bro.
No, it doesn't.
It's got a blue light. It's got a blue light right down the middle when it turns on.
No, but it doesn't shine at you. That if it's going to be white, and it's going to have that blue line. I'm talking about like how we seen these pictures, right?
Why you hating, K Mega? Why you hating, bro?
Golly, I'm not hating.
Okay,
I'm just being
honest.
I'm just saying what I feel. I'm God, man. Let me say. I'm not. Damn. The light. If the light is going straight down the console, that blue light. That shit is going to be distracting as hell if it's a tower. Now, if they got in the way that they can fit it into a box like the X or whatever, then that won't be as distracting. But if you got this white box that's standing with this blue line, that's going to kind of throw me off a little bit.
It's going to have black in it too, though. You saw it. It's white, black.
I know.
Light.
I can't wait to see the design of it. I really can't,
goodness.
because look. You know what I'm saying? Like it's going to be the El Caminos of consoles. I cannot wait to see it. But I do.
Wow. El Camino is a sharp vehicle, man. I don't know what you're talking
in
about.
1960s, 70s, and 80s. There ain't no El Caminos anymore. They tried to make it and nobody bought that shit. So again,
well, it didn't come with that V8 either, man. I'm just saying.
Anyway, so the controller itself looks dope. Nobody didn't even mention this, and I don't think Don is going to mess with it because he's going to be politically correct. Is the mic situation?
Oh, dude, I was actually going to talk about once everybody got the initial thoughts. Yeah. I was gonna bring up the whole mic situation.
Okay. So I'll let you get to everybody else with the mic situation.
All right, so let's get to the Don here. Don, you're kind of like thing with gaming development is graphics, man. Things that are pleasing to the eye. So let us know, what do you think about the DualSense?
I like the way it looks. I'm on opposite ends of Mega on this one.
Mega hating, man.
But we can still get along. It's all good. Our friendship's over now because I like it.
No. I was going to say the bot. I'm like, hey, y'all can like it. That black at the bottom is ugly as fuck to me. I'm sorry. Make it one solid color. Keep the blue.
Can we get a thumbs up for K Mega's rant here?
Look, that would be clean. Just take the black out and look at that. That is so ugly. Look, I mean, like, okay, with the hands, but then they make those little brown little buttons on it. Man, come on, because the blue takes it out.
He's still revved up, man.
Yo, he is. 180 miles an hour, bro.
You already expressed yourself and everything.
Like a BMW i8, man. I'm saying.
I'm sorry. I don't normally just go like this, but I mean that the aesthetic is awful to me, man. But go ahead, Don. I'm sorry.
Anyways, I enjoyed it. I enjoy it even more now that it bugs Mega. But the shape of the controller, I like that aspect of it. Like the body of the controller and the shape they've gone with it's definitely more appealing to me.
Does it remind you of the Xbox controller?
Absolutely.
And dude, you
do an overlay. The only difference is where it contours towards the triggers and the shoulder buttons.
Mm-hmm.
It comes out a little further. Hence the face buttons and the D-pads are a little further out because of that, because your hands are going to be moved further out anyways. And then the pistol grip's a little bit longer. for the most part, it's very, very close.
And you know,
Uh,
when it comes down to it, people when they first saw this, they were hating on it. They're like, "Oh, they ripped off Xbox's design or whatnot." And I tried to tell people, I'm like, "Well, what did you expect? Like Xbox found that design that has been praised throughout the gaming industry as the most comfortable. Like I didn't know any other way that they could go to make it different but still as comfortable. You know what I'm saying?"
Yeah, no, I get where you're going with that, and I'm not going to criticize them for doing that. That's something I would enjoy for them to do. In regards to that, so I think it's going to be one of the more comfortable as far as the body of the controller itself out of all of them. I love the fact that they're trying different types of rumble. Haptic is different than your traditional rumble motor. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Look it up. They are different. So a traditional rumble motor in our current controllers is literally a motor. It's just a little motor
It's
with a
got a
weight
little
that
weight and it
spins.
spins it around, right?
Yeah, exactly. So what haptic is basically it's almost it works like a speaker in a lot of ways, right? So it's a weight that's suspended, but when they apply electricity to it, it moves forward and back very much like a speaker diaphragm. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so that's how they get it. So it's very directional, and how it's done. It has a different feel to it. Some people are going to argue they prefer the motor versus the haptic. There's not a one solution for this, just so you guys know. So people are going to argue about that stuff going forward. Just be forewarned. You heard it here. People are going to argue about it. You're going to see it in, I don't know, 6 months, 8 months from now, once people get their hands on this stuff. Um, but those are the things I like about it. I like the aesthetics. I like the shape. I like the body. I love the fact that they're trying new things with the haptic stuff. Um, but I'm not. I've never been a fan of the analog stick placement on PlayStation. It's just unnatural to me. There's a reason why I have an adapter on my current system, right? My current Xbox controller to play it on a PlayStation 4. I just prefer that layout in regards to that.
And you know what? When it comes down to it, actually, a lot of people in the community actually prefer the offset kind of like thumbstick layout as well. I know, a few people at IGN, they did polls, and of course, certain people at IGN, has more kind of like PlayStation followers. Certain people might have more Xbox followers, so they made sure that a couple different people put out that poll, and I believe the offset thumbstick won out on, like, swept them all. It won out on
Well,
them
yeah,
all.
yeah, and that's a segment of there's gamers. I respect gamers that prefer the more of the PlayStation layout. I just don't enjoy it. I don't share that sentiment with them. But that's a big thing. The other thing I was hoping they would address was the trigger shape. I think the trigger shape it needs a little more pronouncedness to kind of the scoop of the trigger itself. I think that was one gripes on the current DualShock that I wanted, and I was hoping they would do it with the next iteration, and we're not seeing that. And then the ultimate thing, this is where my real concern. We'll see how it all plays out. Is the mic for a totally different reason than no one else is talking about? We all know mics are the most effective when they're closest to the source they're trying to pick up the sound, right? Which is your mouth, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no way around that. So it's a simple point of physics. So they can do everything they can to make a good microphone array and try to figure out where the sound's coming from and all that sort of stuff. But the other issue is all the tactile stuff that happens on a controller, and you have your microphone right strapped to it. That
Oh,
that
like
concerns
all the vibration and stuff like that,
all
right?
the well,
Background noise
yeah.
and stuff.
But the button slapping and all. I mean, we hear, just so you know, like when we do fight nights on Sunday on Mixer, me and Mega and Sir X Men and the crew. I hear people slapping their controllers, and I know they're at least 3 foot away from
Button mashing,
their
baby.
mic their microphone. I can hear it,
I like
right?
hearing this shit.
Yeah. So and then that's the other thing too. Like it's one of my, I love actually crossplay. I love playing with PC gamers, but my only gripe is when they have their nice Yeti mic right next to their keyboard, and I can hear every clickety clack of their keyboard. It's drives me nuts. So the challenge is either you make the buttons a softer touch, right? So it doesn't have that tactile feel, which I would not prefer. I would prefer a more tactile feel
Crisp,
to the
more
button.
more crisp.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, a little more clickety click
Damn, look at that
to
double
the
kill.
button. So either you soft, so you either take away from that.
I think the
And then,
buttons are going to be softer, Don. I mean, I
I
said
think
that last night, but
that might
right,
be the solution for they may
right.
have
It has to be to have that mic there.
You're a
or
DualSense hater, man. I'm not listening to you on this
I'm not a
controller
hater
thing,
of the
man.
controller. I'm just of this aesthetic. I'm not
Okay.
tripping about the colors. Is what's awful.
Mhm. Anyways,
Yeah.
that being said, that is a concern. We'll see how it all plays out. I mean, you can do it through software. You can do noise gates. You can do all this type of stuff to help out with that stuff. But we'll see how it all goes. And the other issue that I have, and I understand why they wanted to do the mic, because if you go play some multiplayer games on PlayStation, and if someone's not on your friends list, very rarely you run into somebody with a mic. It just doesn't happen, right? And so this kind of puts a mic in everyone's hands. So I see why they did it. But the downside is I'm going to be hearing everyone's either they fix it through software, because there are companies working on it, including Microsoft and stuff like that, with cloud compute. They're basically trying to figure out background noise, and they're trying to filter that out so you can just hear the source, right? But at the end of the day, I don't want to hear what you're cooking, what your roommate's cooking in the kitchen. I don't want to hear your buttons moving, and I don't want to go into a multiplayer game and then have to mute a bunch of people before I even start a match, or they don't make any noise prior to the match, and now I'm in the match and I can hear all that stuff, and then I have to go through the menu to mute all that, right? That those are my concerns. I mean, as a gamer, these are the things I'm concerned about. This is not a developer side of things, right? This is from a gamer's perspective. Like, I don't want to have that experience when I play multiplayer on that system. So we'll see how it all pans out. We'll see how well the final product ends up being in regards to that. But and I know why they're doing it. I just don't I just don't know if they're going to be able to pull it off or not. Like that's a tricky thing. I mean, remember when we all played Connect, and when people would try to talk through their Connect,
Oh,
and then it takes about
Well,
5 minutes, and that gamer is booted from the party chat. If they're trying to talk through the Connect, they're like, nah, you're out, because like you can't hear him. He picks up all the other noise and all
Shout
that
out to
sort of
my
stuff.
brother
So,
Infrared Beam, who used to talk through the Connect all the
still
time.
still does.
Oh my goodness. See, and Don, you're stumbling over kind of like my second part to this topic. Yes, there is a microphone built into it, and Sony said it is for quick conversation. So if you're getting into a game, I know I play a lot of I play a lot of Destiny 2 without a fire team. I go in with randos, and to be able to kind of like unmute my mic and just say, hey, to the left real quick, over by the tower, something like that, and kind of mute it back. I think that's what they're talking about. But
hold the touchpad down to communicate, like just ever so slightly. Hey, I'm over here. And then
yeah,
you can
but
let
no,
go of
it's
it.
not
That'd
holding
be
the
cool.
touchpad down. Like there's literally a mute button right underneath, so it's a mute unmute type situation.
I get it, but that's what I'm trying to say. Like I would be a little bit more okay with
Well,
that.
I'm
But
trying to
we'll
flesh
see.
out the next part of this topic, brother. Is what I'm trying to do here. So, what you were saying there about the Kinect is, I want to say congratulations to all the Sony diehard people, because now you're gonna have to deal with an issue that we over here on Xbox dealt with the Kinect. And, not for anything, but when it comes to marketing rights and games that are, have a marketing right with Sony, with PlayStation, Call of Duty is one of the main ones. And I can tell you from having 12-year-old twins, if they ever had the option that they were able to talk without headsets to people, like as they're playing Fortnite, or if they play Call of Duty and stuff like that, and kind of go in and make fun of people and do their own kind of like, childish sense of humor of annoying people and stuff like that, guys, you are gonna be in for a treat. I guarantee you that. We heard what Don said about the mic. I want to go to Predator real quick, because he wanted to touch on it, and I was like, yeah, hold off, man. As you can see, Don just bulldozed right into it. So you hear what I'm saying. There was an issue with the Kinect, especially kids talking through the Kinect, stuff like that. It was It was annoying, absolutely annoying. I don't think the Sony diehards out there, I don't think that they necessarily know what they're in store for. But what do you think about the microphone, brother?
I think it's just the way. I mean, like, as a gamer, I'm gonna always use my headset anyway. To be honest with you, like, I just don't see
But
myself using.
you know who I'm talking about when it comes down to it, and with them having with the casual gamer associating the PlayStation brand with Call of Duty, you know about the Call of Duty kids as well. I mean, long documented, man. Like,
Just yelling on the damn mic for no fucking reason.
now they'll
like
have their
like,
whole little group of kids that are watching as they're taking turns, all talking about what they did to your mom at the same time. Like, it's gonna be amazing.
Well, okay, so if you look at the settings on the PlayStation, and I don't know this, so I'm sure one of the PlayStation guys out there can tell me, is there not an option to turn that off? Right now,
they said that from. Oh, you say for the PlayStation 4?
Like right now, I mean, if they've already talked about having that option, then that's one thing. But
oh yeah, I've heard PlayStation fans say that there's an option for the dual sense to be turned off for the
okay, so I mean, like, as long as that option's available, I mean, like, I don't have a problem with it. I would never use that feature, to be honest with you. I always game with my headset on for immersion, so I would not use the mic, to be honest with you. And like, when I've played games on it before, I think I've heard something go off and I was like, this is stupid. I don't like using this. It wasn't loud enough. It wasn't something I wanted to listen to or talk into. And even on the Connect games that they had, I think Rise had it. You can like talk and say fire volley, whatever. I didn't use it then either. So like, I mean, that's just the type of game I am though. I'd rather have my mic and my headset like right there. And as Don was saying, like, you want that next to the source it's coming from. So if I'm a hardcore gamer, if I'm gonna play a game, I'm gonna make sure that my mic is set up where it needs to be, not talking to my freaking controller.
Damn, you
I know where you're gonna
seriously, bro.
Yeah, I know where you're going with this, and I can see that being a potential problem. But if the option's there to turn it off in the first place,
it's gonna be an issue for people. I can guarantee that, bro.
Now I don't know, like you were talking about having the unmute button. I don't know if the PlayStation controller has that on there. I didn't see that down there.
It's right underneath the start button. There's a mic.
Okay.
But it's for the mic. It's not to mute anything coming out. You know what I'm saying? It's for what you're saying.
Yeah, just when you talking, not you listening. So, I mean, I'm sure there's an option to turn that off. There's got to be. It's got to be.
Well, dude, and yo, shout out to Christopher Hart, brother. I know there are options like Predator is saying. But you got to remember, you're talking to people that lived through a similar experience. And when it comes down to it, yeah, you can go in and mute people. Like if you're in a party, you can go and mute certain people. I do that to people who are eating. And I can't stand hearing eating in an Xbox Live party. But when it comes to game chat, it's a little more difficult. You can mute the entire game chat. And then you won't get to talk to anybody. And then if you forget it's muted and you go in and you want to talk to somebody that's in the game that you didn't realize, you have to go back into the settings and unmute it and stuff like that. Like, there are options, but I'm letting you know, gamer to gamer, it becomes clumsy. It's a pain in the ass, man. I'm just letting you know that right now. But all right, Predator, anything left to say on that before I go to K-Mega?
No, I'm good.
All right. K-Mega, you DualSense hater, you. Yeah, when it comes to the mic, you heard what I said. You know, we've lived through this when it comes to, like, when the Kinect was in the box with every Xbox One. You know what I think you know what I'm saying in terms of marketing with Call of Duty. You know about that fan base, the toxic nature of people within. I'm not saying all, but you already know there's 12-year-olds that did so many things to your mom. It's not even funny. I hope she got paid. You know what I'm saying? But do you see what I'm saying? Like, what do you think about the mic? Yeah.
The mic is the I don't know. No, I do know. And you know what? I'm just not holding back.
Uh-oh.
Look, for anybody in here that's trying to give an excuse for what PlayStation is doing with the mic, and you were one of the people that were in 2013 talking about the Kinect as a spy machine,
Oh, you're
and
going
you
there.
got to put that. Oh, I have to.
Oh
Look,
man.
I ain't gonna let that hypocrisy go, man. That's garbage. You can't. If I see, you know what I'm saying, and look, I get it. You know, and I'm hearing the same excuses that was made when people were trying to defend the Connect. Oh, well, you got your cell phones, laptops
Yeah.
that the government wants to see you and all this stuff and all that. I mean, and that's the truth. So now you got a different type of energy because it's a PlayStation product.
Oh
Fuck out
no.
of here. Listen, and I ain't even start drinking yet. So this is the thing right here. I'm going to tell you. You're a liar. You're frauds. Keep the same energy. If you had a problem with the Connect back then you should have a problem with this mic, especially with that patent. Nobody on this panel has talked about that patent that I think is the real reason why they got that mic there.
Oh, it's definitely
But you
it's
just,
main reason. Yeah.
well, I mean, but you said it yourself to just talk on it, just speak on it for a few seconds.
Yeah.
And
Quick
what was those?
conversation.
Yeah, quick conversations. And what would those quick conversations would be from what you've seen in that patent?
How do I
Hey,
beat this? How do I beat this boss? Oh, 80% of people, they would pop up on your TV. 80% of people beat it with this item. Would you like to
exactly.
buy this item?
Right. That's exactly where they're talking about the seconds for that. Listen, we all know that would be that wouldn't even be cool. Like, I mean, if you have that little mic there, I get it. If for somebody that may just had a broken mic and they want to try to talk to people, but then it's just like what everybody else has been alluding to, that's kind of like another connect moment, and a lot of people will just mute you in the first place. So I think that patent that was talked about, I believe that could be real. I think that is one of the things that maybe Sony is trying to get out. Now it's up to if they do implement that. Now I want to have these stands have that same energy. I want them to be out
Oh,
there in full demand with the
hold
pitchforks
on,
and
Albert.
and the
Albert,
torches.
the Connect. They state what type of cameras were in it, what type of speakers were in it, what type of mic was in it. They didn't hide any of that when it came to the Connect, Albert. I think you need to go back and check that
Yeah,
out,
look,
bro.
listen, these guys don't even know know even anything. I see somebody say that was 7 years ago, Mega. Oh well, so Sony does it, what, 7 years later, and it's okay. I mean, if you had that same energy then, you should have the same energy now. That's all I'm saying. I mean, let's just be real about it. And listen, I think that is, look, with the touchpad. I'm pretty sure that touchpad is got to do something probably with the PlayStation VR 2 and then like doing some other stuff. But there was great points made last night where the touchpad, look, I mean, it was cool when you heard the little wow and little voice recordings from Horizon Zero Dawn, and then like in Days Gone, it's a map and certain things like that. But it's just like what Fred was saying, like it's not. You could do something else with that touchpad. And then also another point that I didn't even know about. PK Live brought up a point about the Joy Cons and how the battery gets drained, and somehow some of that same technology is in that DualSense, and that might be another issue where the battery is not going to have the longer life that what some people may
I'm
think
worried
it's
about.
going to have.
I am worried about the battery. They did say
Yes.
improved, stronger battery, but there's a lot more going on with this controller as well. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So again, I mean, look, I'm still going to get the PlayStation. I always do. I've always bought one, but I'm not going to. But I'm not going to sugarcoat none of this because PlayStation fans want me to. I'm just not. It's questionable for that mic. If it's questionable then it's got to be questionable now. And if you're cool with it, then if you was cool with what the Connect was and you're cool with what this is, then that's fine. I personally, it's not that big of a deal for me because if you want to be looked at and listened to from the government or spies or hackers or anything like that, then so be it. I mean, I was saying the same thing about the Connect. Like, I mean, if somebody really wants to see what I'm doing, then
Dude,
go right
K
ahead.
Mega, they're already all over your cell phone, man. Like, don't even
Right.
get it
Like
twisted.
that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, that was the point that we were making. Like, I mean, hell, you carry a cell phone, you sleep with the cell phone, you got to worry about that. So that thing is, I think, is for microtransactions, trying to earn a little bit of money on certain type of games. And it's got that same feature like Connect has where you could talk it to, or it's still that kind of feature where you can go talk to Alexa or whatever and say that I need help for certain things, not as extensive, It's where they're trying to give you hey, you can beat this boss for $2 or some kind of crazy stuff like that. But that's what I think that mic is really for. Because I mean, just think about it logically. Why would you even put a mic there to talk when you also can when people's old hardware and mics can be used on the DualSense, and mostly everybody that's a PlayStation 4 owner that's going to buy a PlayStation 5 is already going to have a mic, and if it's backward compatible, why would you even worry about that little mic? I mean, is Sony going to be so cheap that they're not even going to implement a little cheap mic for the PlayStation 5? That's what I'm trying to figure out. So
I could great question on that, and I think
yeah.
I don't think they'll have their earbud in the PS5 the way that they had in the
that
PS4.
earbud, bro, they come on, man. They ain't gonna have an earbud.
No, I don't think so.
Why would you need it if you have the mic built into the
Exactly.
controller and then you can play over the speakers on your TV? That would be the rash, right?
Come on, man.
Here's a conspiracy theory for you. What if the DualSense is their elite?
That's another thing. We never saw the back of the controller as well. We saw that when it came to the DualShock 4, they're selling a $30 peripheral to add back buttons, and a lot of people thought that was getting people ready for the new controller, and the new basic controller will have buttons on the back, which I think would be a great idea. I think that's something that Xbox should have done as well when it came down to it. But they didn't show the back of the controller. Do you think that it's going to have back buttons like that?
I don't think so. I'm just saying, they see the money that Microsoft is generating with their controllers.
They want some.
They want some of that pie too. So let's, and again, I was trying to be funny when I said this, but let's say this is their DualSense is their version of the Elite controller, right? This isn't going to ship with what you buy in the PlayStation 5. This is going to be like a $100 controller plus, So, and even if it isn't, I still think they're going to go that route at some point in time. So you're going to get this controller in the box, and you're definitely going to want their Elite version or whatever they're going to call it later. Because my thing is the naming, right? The DualSense, and I know they were talking about this before. I guess I thought I heard something maybe about a year ago, maybe 6 months ago, where they were talking about this controller. But typically it's been DualShock 3, 4, 5, blah, blah. So then done with the DualShock series?
Mm-hmm. Yes, great point.
Yeah,
that's a great point. That sounds about right.
They're straight up are. I mean, they think it's more correlates with how the controller feels. Is my thought process and why they called it the DualSense. I think it's bad marketing. I think they just keep it the DualShock name.
DualShock 6 or 5.
Just keep adding a number. Yeah. I mean, that's the brilliant thing about PlayStation, right? They just add a number. They didn't do anything weird, right? They didn't name it after a Tony Hawk trick. That's, what I mean? They could just add. They could just add a number when they come up with something new. So I mean, yeah, I don't understand why they went away from that. That's a little weird to me. The naming. I mean, it's nitpicking, right? Let's just call it what it is. But I think it confuses people when they're like DualSense, huh? They're like, oh, the new PlayStation controller, and that's probably what's going to end up being called by most of the public. Yeah, the new PlayStation controller.
Right.
Called that.
And I got one more point too.
Well, real quick before you say that, just real quick, Z Black Rider, hit up that super chat. Thank you, brother, for supporting the channel and the show. He says, breaking news: PS5 controller touchpad lifts to expose a credit card reader. Magical. Oh, damn.
Cold-blooded.
but go ahead, K-Mega.
Oh, man. But no, the one other point I wanted to make is that we didn't find out if this was backwards compatible, basically, if it could be played on the PlayStation 4. Could, and one thing I don't know this, I'm sure that they can, but will the regular DualShock 3 be played on the PlayStation 5? Has anybody heard about that? Because I haven't heard anything.
One thing I've heard has been compatible was the VR.
With the VR and the in your headsets. Yeah. That's the only thing that I've heard that was compatible. So, again, if Brad, you might be onto something with that. It could be their new standard, and then of course they can customize those controllers, which will be dope. And like I said, I like the look of it. Hopefully, and then if it's going to be like the Elite, then I'm pretty sure that it won't feel light. It'll have some weight to it, which will be worth the purchase. But again, that mic and that color palette is got to go, bro. It's just not my thing, man. That color palette is an eyesore. But I'm done with it. I'm
Yo,
done
you
with saying
drinking
something
that
about this.
haterade, bro?
I'm not saying, man, bro. Listen. If this
That's
was,
okay.
Best-
He hates PlayStation VR for the same reason because it has that color palette.
I don't hate PlayStation
Oh,
VR,
yo,
bro.
dude, that's a great
I don't
point,
hate it.
man.
I don't hate it.
That's a great point. It took the same
That's
color
part of,
scheme from the
that's the
PSVR.
design team that worked on it. Yeah, you can tell it's the same design team that worked on both of those
Yeah.
products. So
Well, the PlayStation VR looks okay. It's just the
Mhm.
controller thing is just awful to me.
Man,
So.
you're not going to be complaining about the way the controller looks if you're wearing that VR. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, yeah, you could be right. You could be right, but I'm not going to be wearing one. So, yeah. It's
Oh, I am done with you guys. So done with you guys.
ah!
All right. On that note, I think it's about time to switch it up. You know, before we get into what I was talking about with the power narrative, I wanted to bring it back to what we were talking about with Inside Xbox just real quickly because I had a thought there and I wanted to see what you guys think about this. And I think it's something that gamers out there in the community they want to hear more opinions on. Now, in Inside Xbox, they were talking about gear tactics a lot. And they put a lot of time into this game, all this good stuff. And you've heard Phil Spencer, you've heard kind of like Team Xbox talk about play games wherever you want. You know, whether it's on console, PC, you know, with xCloud on your mobile device, stuff like that. Let's go to the Don here first on this, okay? So you hear them talking about this, and then you see Gears Tactics, which is, I guess, being loosely stated. I think it was Rod Ferguson at one point in time saying that Gears Tactics will go to Xbox as well. But it's releasing on PC first. So if there is this idea of playing these games of, you know, the console franchises that come out, they're coming out day and date with PC. How do you guys feel about a PC game coming out with no console port there or no support for console on release when console franchises are getting day and date? Do you like, Don, do you feel like shafted here? I know it might not be your game, but does that seem like some sort of double talk there where they're like, yeah, play your games wherever you want? You know, Halo, the core Gears, Forza will all release day and date. And then you see a game like Gears Tactics, which, you know, there are RTS fans out there and on console, but they're not going to be able to play this game on release date on the hardware that they prefer.
Yeah, I think that's something that you have to address. And I don't think it's going to be a problem going into, honestly, this time next year. Because of the new DX Ultimate API is going to be a big part of that, I think, going forward. Where like, the ports are getting easier and easier all the time, right? So the excuse to not to be able to offer that at launch is harder and harder to get away with. You know what I mean? Both from like internally and from the development community, you know, we will recognize it, and then both gamers themselves. And if it's gaming you're interested in, yeah, I think it's a legitimate point that like, hey, what's going on there? But I'm surprised they said it's on xCloud and not console, because isn't all xCloud? Well, I'm not going to even put it that way. All of xCloud is console.
It's powered by Xbox One S blades
right now. Yeah, exactly.
So that makes me scratch my head even more, man.
But
yeah,
how many? But how many is not like it's being powered by one, right?
No, it's powered by one.
S. Is it powered by just one S?
Yeah, that's how it works in regards to that. So yeah, it's just one S that's doing it. And things, you know, games can scale that far. It's not a big deal. We're building games with so much excess now that, like, trust me, building things on the S is not a problem. But people keep overthinking all that stuff. But yeah, they need to address that, right? I mean, you guys are just as viable of a customer as another, and what that does, it makes that customer seem like they don't matter.
Well, it makes the
Um,
narrative and what they were talking about kind of like, what they believe and stuff like that. It loosens that to a certain extent.
well,
It's not.
so what happens is the customer, like, so, okay, say the customer is bummed, right? They're a little frustrated or even pissed off, right? All negative emotions in regards to that. Then what happens? Naturally, that customer is going to go to creative ways of why they're not doing it. That even be remotely true. But the thing is, that's what's going to come from the narrative of those situations. And so Xbox has got to be
Later,
self-aware of that.
Starbuck. My bad.
They can't get away with. I mean, they're not going to be able to get away with that. That's what I'm going to say. Your good graces will only go so far, and it will come back to bite them eventually. So they have to address it. I think they're self-aware of that. I don't think I'm talking about anything they're not talking about internally over there, in regards to that. And we'll see how the community reacts to it. But I would say it's in their best interest to make sure stuff releases day and date across the board. So.
Yeah, I mean, like, when it's all said and done, that whole Play Anywhere initiative, the whole, releasing games on both the console and the PC day and date, you know, I like that. I think that's a good space when it comes to the PC. I feel like that's a completely different animal than console anyway. It being open platform and inherently makes it a different entity than console gaming. But if you're gonna tout all that, then be about it. If you're gonna say it, be it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
And I think this is kind of the last, though. I think this is kind of the last of that, though, right? Like they've been guilty of this about other things as well. So I think this is kind of the last hurrah, something built on older tech, and just didn't have it in the plans going forward. And I don't think it's going to be an issue going forward. We'll
I,
see. If it's an issue this time next year, yeah, by all means. I mean, I think at that point you guys have given them plenty of time to be reasonable. It's time to say something a little bit more expressive at that point, I would say.
well, you know me, I'm gonna express myself no matter what. So like as soon as I see something that I'm like, yo, hold on, they said something different, and that's not what they're doing right now. When it comes down to it, I feel like YouTubers in the community should be about the gamers first and foremost, and not about any kind of like allegiance to any certain platform or
You,
anything
you
like
should
that.
you should give them some leeway and some chance and be able to articulate yourself. But at a certain point, that you have to be accountable for what you say, right?
Hmm.
Like that leeway, you have to use up that goodwill. And so I would say, yeah, definitely this time next year, around the E3 next year, if that's still happening, uh, they've used up their goodwill, and I would highly recommend get that buttoned up internally with at least first party going forward, because that's the stuff you do have control over going forward. And I think people will be more open to the idea of crossplay. People are going to be more open to all these things that Microsoft has visions for, but you can't get people on board if you're doing things that contradict it. So.
Nice, nice, and I definitely, I think you're giving them a little more leeway. I feel like they need to explain themselves a little bit more when it comes to this game. I do know a lot of people in the community that if this was coming out on console, they'd be rocking it on an Xbox like day one, and I think they definitely need an explanation here. Guys, check it out! I played Near Automata for the first time this past week. I don't know if you saw the gameplay, but there's some things about that game. I think the game graphically does not look impressive whatsoever, but there's some gameplay mechanics in there that I'm kind of digging right now. But K Mega,
Yeah.
what do you think about this Gears Tactics? Like I said, I know a lot of people who are into RTSs who would be there day one on the Xbox. We heard Phil Spencer, play your games wherever you want. We have Halo, Forza, games like that coming out day and date on PC. Why is it not reciprocated here with Tactics? And do you think we need to be I think we need to be more vocal, but what do you think about this, bro?
You know what? I don't know. It's a touchy subject. I look at it from quite a few different perspectives. Like I talked to a developer one time about a certain fighting game, and he was saying that he was bringing it over to the Xbox, and it's only on place. I mean, I'm sorry, only on a PC. And when you look at the fighter, it's Shaolin versus Wu Tang. Um,
Oh, I
it's a
remember
whole
your
series.
gameplay. I
Yeah, yeah,
remember your
yeah, yeah,
gameplay
yeah,
of
yeah.
that.
It's a whole series of them, right? And so, when you look at it, you're kind of like, why is this game not already on? And he explained that it just doesn't work well on the older consoles. And he said it's almost um, impossible to put, especially the latest one, on the Xbox. Now, like I said, if you look at it graphically, it's like it doesn't seem like it's that that strong. And then of course he doesn't have a big team. He's only a person of one, but it's one of those things where maybe that could be a factor to where it probably just doesn't run right run correctly
Did
on
you
the
say
older
run
hardware.
white? You said
I
run
said
white, man.
run
I don't know.
right.
I
Okay, one white.
don't.
Any stop it. I was trying to say it correctly, but I slipped. But anyway, um, it might not run correctly on the standard consoles. It might not. Maybe it only run good on the X, and it might run horrible on the Fat and the S. That could be one option. Another option could be what you're alluding to, Bot, is that just misinformation, and they just chose PC first for whatever odd reason instead of the console gamers, and then of course you got to nip that in the bud. You got to have your first party games be anywhere, because
Yeah,
I, I,
yo,
sup- I
I
support that.
see. Yo, K Mega, I see people in
Yeah.
the chat. People are like, "Well, I don't care. I'm playing Gears 5 Horde and stuff." And I'm not saying this
Well,
for you guys out there. Like,
mhm.
there's a certain amount of integrity that needs to be upheld. All right, and
Well,
it,
yeah, but yeah, I know I get what you're saying, but like I said, I think, and this is where I go with Don on this, is that they need to just explain themselves and just get it out the way, because it could be something that it's out of their control, and that's why I say, like, give them a chance on giving the information to it. But if they just come out and say, well, we just showed PC first because you know the PC audience likes RTSs more than consoles, then I mean that's kind of fucked up, because you still could have just gave it to
you
the
could have
to
got
the
extra.
console
You could
gamers.
have
Yeah,
got
yeah.
extra on the
Well,
console.
that's still going to do it, because it's still going to go to the console eventually. But that's why I was saying, where I agree with Don. If we have this same problem next year with another game, and we got the Series X, there's no more excuses. You see what I'm saying? That's why I'm like, one of the options could be that the hardware is just not capable of running that game properly just yet, because they want to implement the DirectX 12, whatever that thing has got all inside of it, or whatever. But then the other factor could be is they've listened to the wrong individuals that could have told them, hey, we should just put this game on PC first, then just give it to console gamers here a little bit later. And that could be listening to the wrong content creators, could be listening to somebody in the staff, because there's a lot of Xbox people that there were a lot of people that work for Xbox that are hardcore PC gamers themselves, and they could be just looking at that as, hey, let's just give it to the PC fans first, and then just give it to Xbox gamers later. Probably looked at the numbers and statistics and seen that PC gamers would probably go for it more, because I mean, we don't really know what Halo Wars 2 done overall. But again, it might be more people that bought the game on PC, and they probably looked at that. I have no idea. As I
Well,
said, there's so many other factors, but I do agree that
none of
you
those
got to
factors make
you got to
sense
have it.
with what they said about playing your games wherever you want to, man. Like
But if they,
let's be real.
but let's be real. If you're gonna do the hammer pants, if I mean not the hammer pants, but if you're gonna do the hammer dance with the damn dude, that's Kate's dad, then that's even worse. It's the same premise that I always say with all type of games. Until this game is ready, then let it be ready. If it's not ready, I mean, if it is ready and it can be played on that console, then yeah, it should be
Well, you
discussed
heard
and people
Don. It's
should
going
start back.
to XCloud, which we know the servers are Xbox One S's. So I'm thinking, yeah, it can be playable. I just want to say real
I
quick.
thought it was. I thought it was. See, now I thought it was on X on Game Pass PC only. I didn't know that it was on the other Game
I don't know.
Pass.
I'm going off of the
Or
here.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
so-
I just
if
want
they're
to say
claiming,
real
if
quick,
they're claiming if it's cloud though, then yeah, it's on an S.
guys, just real quick.
Okay,
Other
so-
Zinc in the chat is like, he said, when is Uncharted RTS game releasing on the PS4? Now, Other Zinc, you got to remember, all right, when it comes down to it, us gamers, whether you prefer Xbox, whether you prefer PlayStation, whether you prefer Nintendo, whether you prefer PC or whatever, we are the gaming community that should be sticking together and, you know, holding the feet to the fire of these corporations when they're doing things that's, you know, that goes against what they said they were going to do. All right. And on that note, PlayStation never said anything play anywhere, never said anything day and date in terms of PS4 or their games that they made on the PC platform coming to PS4. They never said anything like that. So I'm not really holding their feet to the fire over that. You see what I'm saying? And shout out to Lucifer hitting up that super chat, brother. Thank you so much. He said Supersonic is a closet Game Pass fan. LOL, we all know he is. All right. But yo, Other Zinc, I'm not here to pander for a specific part of the community. I'm not here to just say all rosy good news. If something is going on, no matter what corporation is doing it, and I feel like it's against or anti-gamer, I will talk about that, no matter where it comes from. I think I owe that to you guys. Again, that's what I'm all about.
No, it's a fair discussion. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's for the most part. I mean, if the game did, but this is the thing too. If the game did come out and release on day one, you would still hear the same people saying the same stuff. Oh, nobody's going to play that game. That
It's
game
not
is
about them though.
this, that. It's not
It's
an
not about
exclusive.
them.
Well, I mean,
Don't let fanboys and extremists control the narrative, brother.
But please don't.
I'm
Please
just saying.
don't try to educate me. I know this.
King
but
Neutral!
I'm saying in a sense.
There you go.
Yeah, listen, I am neutral. I'm saying I don't agree with this. I agree with what you're saying, but I'm also let's give it an opportunity to see what's going on. And like I said, if they come out and we find out here later on that it was just their decision to go, because like I said, out of the three options that I said, and the one was that they listened to somebody that was more of a diehard PC gamer and they wanted to put it on PC, then yeah, they should get ripped for it. No doubt about it. You know what I'm saying? You got to, you know what I'm saying? Stick to what you said.
Nice. And on that note, real quick, let's get into pretty much the final topic here. And this is something I've been thinking about because, you know, Xbox has come out. They shared their specs. They even shared what the console looked like. They teased games that are going to come out for the Series X for, you know, next generation, stuff like that. And then PlayStation did the same thing. And on Twitter, there was this whole arguing over the power narrative. Now, I've gone on record stating that the power narrative is good in terms of marketing. We saw Sony use it back in 2013 to kind of really, you know, help that hype roll. You know, they did what I call guerrilla tactics marketing as well, with this is how we share our games and all that good stuff. But they use the power narrative to say, you know, the world's most powerful console. That's a marketing tactic. And it's a marketing tactic that will grab a lot of the casual gamers out there. They like those there's certain words, man. I took kind of like graphic design, I took marketing, and there's certain words that kind of hook into a community. And those, you know, most powerful stuff like that is one of those things. But to see the amount of people arguing over power, I gotta ask my panel where the hell that came from, because when it came down to it, I was a day one adopter of the Xbox One, and now we all know the PS4 in comparison to the Xbox One, the base models, there was a power gap there, and these new consoles that are coming out are nowhere near that power gap. And what did that power gap give us at the beginning of this generation? It gave PlayStation a slightly higher resolution over anything else, which was not a big deal. If you were gaming on Xbox, you were having fun playing games that looked amazing, and you were getting slightly lower resolution. So I have no idea where people started going with pitchforks and torches and power this and power that. And yes, I am talking to both sides here. It made no sense, because if you were happy with your Xbox One at the beginning of this generation, that power gap only led to a lesser resolution for your games. Like, so I want to, let's go to K Mega. K Mega seems to be warmed up right now. Dude, the power narrative, like, it turned into this whole big thing. I can understand for marketing. All right. I can understand that. People that get into the business side, that power narrative is something that could be marketed, could grab casuals, stuff like that. But when you look at the beginning of this generation and the power gap that was between the PS4 and Xbox One, all that kind of came out of that was slightly lower resolution. So why the hell are people arguing over that? When the specs were released for both systems, man.
They shouldn't have. I mean, listen. I mean, we've been on the fight for a long time, just saying, look. I mean, my games look good. I mean, if they're 720p, they're 720p. They still look good. And this is what's funny, because I've showed gameplay of all different types of games on social media all the time. And I was showing. I remember just showing here recently Quantum Break. Oh man, that game looks hot. That game looks really good. There was a couple of people that asked me, what was that game? I said, that was Quantum Break. That's what? I was like,
that was
what?
trash.
I was like, well, yeah, and it was like, I was like, what was you expecting? But see, again, it got destroyed because a lot of people didn't play a lot of certain games. I hear it all the time, like Final Fantasy 15, for instance. That game was getting destroyed. And you have people that's played it on Game Pass, and they'll say, man, I didn't know that game was like this, or any other type of games, any other type of game out there, from even on the PlayStation side, Nintendo side, whatever. If people just go by what they hear from the media or hear from whatever their favorite content creator, and those people talk about it, they just go with it and they'll believe it, and then that's it. It never mattered whatsoever. And it still don't matter. Even now, if you are a PlayStation fan and you know that the power narrative in this generation is insane, but if you're still a PlayStation fan, you still should always be a PlayStation fan. The power narrative should not bother you, because Xbox won't have those games that you enjoy from PlayStation. Period. And it goes vice versa with Xbox gamers. Like, the power narrative, even if those rumors were true from all different types of people saying that the PlayStation 5 is going to be more powerful and do this and do that.
That's why I didn't touch that thing.
It don't matter. I mean, you're going to stop playing Halo because you found out that the PlayStation 5 was going to be more powerful, or you're not going to play The Last of Us 2 when it ever finally drops, because the Xbox is smashing it in power? That was the whole resolution thing was the most idiotic, crazy thing that I ever was a part of when conversating with gamers. I never understood what the hell was the big deal about it. And yeah, I mean, it just comes down to the developers, what they can do with the tech and the engine that PlayStation had to make games look more polished, or whatever the case may be. But then when games that were supposedly 1080p and they weren't 1080p, nobody didn't say anything about it. They just rolled with it anyway. Well, it's all about sales. The narratives in all things change, and it's time to kill these stupid narratives and just go back to what we all have been claiming to be as gamers. I mean, there's some people out there that's true to it, and they play games, and there's other people out there that just fraud the public, and they just want to talk about games all the damn time. So
hiding that gaming library or whatnot. Woo!
You know what I'm saying? Whatever the case may be. Right. Or that don't stream, don't do anything. You know what I'm saying? But they're quick to talk about everything else negative on whatever side. So it was a very stupid narrative. And hopefully that we won't, I say hopefully, but I already know we're going to get into it, that Xbox fans don't fall for the trap and just use it over and over and over again on PlayStation fans, because if there's going to be one thing that PlayStation is going to have some advantage on, we don't know what that will be, but they'll use that, and then that still piss you off. vice versa. So let's just get to the game and the gaming and just go from there.
Nice. Sleepy Goblin was like, gasp, not a big deal? Shout out to Sleepy. I'm glad you're awake, brother. Jazzy Noop said, same energy, Xbot. All about same energy. I got something for you, Jazzy. Same energy goes both ways. If people were saying that, the Xbox One at the beginning of this generation was just fine, which it was. Like, we had quality experiences, and unfortunately, that whole resolution gate swallowed up a couple of my favorite games. Swallowed up Sunset Overdrive. It swallowed up Quantum Break. For the people who said it was just fine, you look at that gap, and it was only a little bit of resolution that was the difference between the systems. You look at that, like, you got to use the same energy there, and just because the Xbox has the quote-unquote power narrative right now, like, why would you throw that back in somebody's face if you were defending your enjoyment of the platform the beginning of this generation?
Well, I know why they would do it,
but it doesn't make sense.
You can't,
it doesn't make sense.
It makes sense when you got people in your throat and you want. Look, it's just all about.
Dude, you just did the same thing that you were arguing about for years. You were arguing against. You turn around and do the same exact thing. All you're doing is spinning that same wheel over and over again.
I understand it. That's why I said I hope everybody just goes in their own corner and just do the thing. But you know damn well it's not going to happen. It's just not. And listen, there's a lot of Xbox fans that's going to feel justifiable to do that. And I understand what you're talking about. We try to get back to the fundamentals, but social media is killed that. I hate to say it, but they've killed it because it's always going to be a narrative. It doesn't matter. It's not going to change. Unfortunately, I'm not saying that it's right. I just said I can understand it.
I hear you, brother. I hear you.
I know you sound all there. You say, "Oh." But
I hear you. I am a strong believer.
I'm sorry, Charlie Brown.
I am a strong believer of not doing the same thing to try to kill something you hate. Like, you don't defeat hate with hate. You don't defeat anger with anger. Like, all you do is slowly become exactly what you hated. Like, I know that might be a little deep for a gaming podcast, but like that's what I believe in.
I totally agree, and I mean I get that, but again, you have to understand it's people. A lot of these people made it personal, and some people take it, and people won't forget it. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, we can't speak for every individual out there, and it sucks. I get it, but. I just know that it won't stop. I know what your point is, and you're doing this for a good cause, Bot.
I will let this channel be a beacon of light to all those that understand that and believe in it, man. I'm saying.
When he says beacon of light, he's referring to a candle.
Oh. Now, even Don believes it, understands what I'm saying.
I understand where you're going with, but I'll wait till my turn.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm done.
Well,
I'm done.
we're not getting to the Don yet because he might agree with K Mega here. So I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with somebody with some common sense here. My brother Predator. You hear what I'm saying here, and I feel like I'm making sense. Like, why were people even arguing over this? The gap is not gonna be as big as it was this generation at the beginning, and all we got was a lower resolution for the multiplats. We still got, quality first party experiences. Like, it wasn't really that big of a deal. Like, what do you think? Why are people going ham out there when it comes to this stuff, man? When it comes to the
You're talking about the power, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, because I can't talk of every country in the world, but in America, like, it's based on having the best.
It's always
like
more, right? Bigger tires.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Yeah, like
more patties on your burger.
Yeah, that's why rims were a thing. Like, I need bigger rims. I need 30-inch rims when you can fucking be fine and probably be more economical with a 20-inch rim. Like, it's our culture. Like, you want to have the best thing. So when you can go out there
Are
and
you saying I'm not
strut your stuff.
American enough, man?
I'm not saying I don't know, man. You acting like you like from some other country right now. I'm just saying, like in here in the States, you know, one of the things, like, you know, you got to have the cleanest pair of shoes. Think about the things that over the past 20 years that have been that have been, like, you know, like the things that people look at. They look at your shoes. They look at people's nails. Women got to have the biggest tits and biggest asses. You know, like you want to have the best. And you want to have the most powerful. You want to have the.
Hold on, real quick, Cali Rex. This is Journey to the Savage Planet. It's on Game Pass, and you should definitely try it. I think you will love this game. Go ahead, Fred. Sorry,
I'm just saying, like, you know,
away.
every in our culture, and I'm not saying this isn't the same in other cultures, but I don't live in those other cultures. I can only talk about where I live. But here in the States, like, you got to have the biggest, the baddest, the best looking shit, right? And that's where that all stems from. And in gaming, it's no different. Look at people's PC builds, right? You know, they want the most powerful PC builds. That shit trickles down to us console gamers too, because console gamers has always been, as gamers, have always been peasants to PC gamers, because we had the least powerful shit compared to what those people who are spending that high dollar amount of money on. Like, so when you go to a console, if you can't have PC powered console, you want the best console out there, and that's where that shit kind of stemmed from. So we didn't talk about teraflops last gen. We didn't talk about resolution and frames last gen. That shit started this generation,
because we couldn't do a teraflop last gen. To be honest, that's the reason why.
But like, how many games last gen like were 60 frames per second? I mean, I don't know. I'm just like, this is a hypothetical question. Like, there were games out there that were
every Call of Duty.
Like, there were games out there that were 60 FPS, but like, I didn't know that because I didn't care about frames back then. I didn't even think about that shit back then. I just wanted a game that I liked and enjoyed and played. So like, this generation has changed that because they made power a narrative. Everybody did. For whatever reason, that's how it came out. When Microsoft was dropping games at the beginning of this generation, we were looking at grass. We were looking at
blades of grass.
Remember, like, that's how this generation started, and so because it started that way, that's how it continued, and that's what the narrative was. It was about power, and we did that to ourselves. We let the media do it. We did it to ourselves. We fed into it, and so now that's where we are now. That answers your question. That's how we got there. I've never remember hearing anybody last generation talk about power or talk about frames last generation. Nobody. I've never heard that shit. We might have our comparisons and arguments about which console was better, but that what was better argument was about games. It had nothing to do about power or frames. Never, until this generation. Now it's about all of it. Now we're just like trying to figure out a new narrative, and from the Microsoft side, they got to find that out. What's the new narrative? Is it a microphone on your fucking controller? I mean, like,
don't think so.
Like, yeah, no, like, we don't know what the new narrative is going to be going in the next generation. It's going to be
according
a mixture
to
of all three of the ones we've been.
According to 100, it's race tracing. Tracing. Okay.
But look at this again, and this is a part of the media thing. If we didn't have the internet, would we even know what ray tracing was? The majority of the gamers out there, would we even know what ray tracing was? Like, would we have thought about that shit 10 years ago? Don might have, because he's in that industry.
Yeah, I've been staring at it forever. So yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, like, as a gamer, I would have, like, if we didn't have the internet and we didn't have Digital Foundry, we didn't have all these other people out here breaking shit down like this. If I'd have went into the Best Buy and picked up a console and they'd have put ray tracing on there, I would have never known what the fuck ray tracing was until this generation. So like, we're doing it to ourselves because we're feeding ourselves so much information. We think that one thing is better than the other, and we think we got to have the best. I got to have the best race tracing. I got to have the best. I got to have the best resolution. I got to have the best frames. I got to have the best PC. I got to have the best graphics card. Like, people are perfectly fine. I'm still rocking a fucking 980 Ti right now. People are still perfectly fine.
I'm rocking a 1060.
and the thing is, when the issue that it comes to, like, I look at high school, like, people used to make fun of people in high school. They didn't have shit. You got raggedy ass K Swisses on, or raggedy ass tennis shoes on, or whatever.
British Knights,
like
baby.
British Knights, Pro
BK.
Wings. Like, y'all may not remember Pro Wings. That was way back in the day.
I remember Pro Rings.
But like,
that's staying in my memory for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, right. So
those pay less special Jordan.
If you didn't have on the right tennis shoes back then, you got made fun of. Like, they don't do that this generation. Like, but no one's coming in my house looking at my fucking graphics card saying your shit sucks. Like, we brag about what
you
we
live
have.
too far away for me to do that.
No one's coming in my house and complaining about, like, but we do it on the internet though, right?
Yeah,
we brag about what we have on the internet and what someone doesn't have. The new way to bash people, like what you don't have. When in reality, you're perfect. I'm perfectly happy with a 980 Ti. Until someone comes in here and tells me, man, your shit's garbage, then I'm gonna feel bad about it. So now I'm like, I need to upgrade my shit now.
I'm waiting for that moment when I visit you.
Oh no!
Like, oh man,
Yo,
look at this cable
Don's
management.
gonna come with a clipboard, man. He's gonna come with a clipboard. That's crap. That's crap. That's crap. Like, dude, you gotta upgrade all that.
That's where you start feeling bad, because now you're thinking that what you have isn't good enough because everybody else has better, and so now you feel like you need to upgrade.
Is it bad that I don't feel bad at all?
No, I don't feel bad, because I can enjoy my games just as much on a 980 Ti as I'm playing on my Xbox One X or my PlayStation or my Switch, because I know in my heart and mind, if I really wanted that shit, I can go buy it. Not everybody can do that, but like, you shouldn't put someone else down because they can only afford a 1S,
right?
In a 19-inch fucking CRT TV. Like, you shouldn't make fun of somebody because of that. They're like let them play the way they want to play, because that's how they're happy playing. But we don't get that. We make fun of other people because they're playing on an Xbox or playing on a PlayStation 4, or they're playing or some game that the other person is not used to playing because they don't know anything about it. So move on, people. Like, quit fucking with these narratives and just play games.
Yeah, it's one thing, like, when it came down to it, one of the things this generation that got me upset was when I saw people, like, when Sunset Overdrive came out, and people they literally stated this on Twitter: is it any good? And then right afterwards, what resolution is it? And I'm like, yo, what the hell does the resolution have to do with that game? But that was the narrative at that point in time. And unfortunately, a game like Sunset Overdrive or Quantum Break, those were games that got swallowed up by that absolutely useless narrative. And they were quality games that should have been enjoyed by a lot more in the community. But unfortunately, certain people, like, they felt like resolution was the end all be all. And it doesn't make any sense. Like, I've had a lot of fun this generation. I've had experiences with different games, new IPs, stuff like that I really got into. But unfortunately, because of the narrative, and because of the narrative actually affecting the community to the platform on, it was affected so much. I'm not seeing sequels to those games. It's a little disheartening. But let's move to the Don. We saved him for last. Not necessarily the best, but we saved him for last.
I'm something.
He's something.
I'm something. Yeah.
That's something his mom said when he was born, by the way. He was like, she was like, something.
You act like she doesn't say it now.
I can actually see it more now. But Don, the power narrative. You heard what I said. I think you were in the same boat when we first started talking on Halo 5. Like, I couldn't believe that, when it comes to the power narrative, the wide gap, it was only a little resolution decline, in comparison to the more powerful system. So why the hell are people arguing about it again in 2020?
People always look for a way to validate their purchase, right? Or their feelings about something.
What about your entertainment with that purchase, though?
Well, yeah, it should always come back to the fundamentals. And I've said this at the beginning of this generation. I say it with the X, and I say it going into this generation. It comes down to what you visually can see, not what Digital Foundry tells you, not what your buddy that you play with tells you, right? What can you visually see? And you got to ask yourself real basic question. Can you see the difference? Yes or no? And if it is a yes, then you have to ask yourself a second question. Is that difference worth my purchase? Yes or no? Simple as that. And it should always come down to the gamer and how they're interpreting those products. And it should never come from a validation from another gamer or another source you want to give validation to, like Digital Foundry. It should never come down to that, ever. In regards to that, if you can notice it, cool. Now, can we say, hey, you hit a native resolution more consistently? Are you going to get more people to notice a better visual? Sure. Better clarity? Absolutely. More people will notice that. But some people won't. And that's the thing. Some people are going to notice frame rates. Some people won't. Um, I've been involved in blind tests in game development before, like, something, gets full funding, right? And they're judging like draw distance, they're judging how close the engagement is going to be, they're judging frame rate, they're trying to figure out what are the fundamentals that make this new concept they're working on tick before they invest all these dollars into graphics and sound design and all the additional stuff that makes games cost so expensive, so much, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of times I've seen people take blind tests and they don't know the difference between 30 and 60, and they'll argue head up and down that they do, and like it's their religion. And the harsh reality, I know what percentage of people that don't. I know what percentage of people that don't know native resolution. So it comes right down, then again, always to the basics. If you can notice a difference, then I say get it. If you don't, then that's your decision to make, and I'm always going to respect that as a developer, and honestly as a gamer as well. I want people to just enjoy gaming. Now, is the latest and best graphics is what makes you enjoy a game? I'm right there with you. That's how I am. I know that's exactly how I am. There's a reason why I have two 2080s in my PC. There's a
Show
reason
off.
why I bought an X. There's a reason why I skipped the standard PlayStation and bought the Pro. Right? Like there's a reason why I do that. I'm one of those guys, but I'm not going to project that onto others. I buy it for myself. I don't do it to show off to other people. I do it because those are the experiences. I want the best possible experience I can get. It's why I have certain television I have, or all that sort of stuff. So it all comes down to the fundamentals, and no one can dictate for you as a gamer what you should play.
All right, I got you, bro. That is probably the most PC statement I heard on the subject that we talked about today. But I hear what you're saying, man. And when it came down to it, it's weird to me. You guys, especially the panel, you guys know me. I got this thing about consistency. You know what I'm saying? And if you're consistently talking about, the awesome time you were having on the Xbox One when there was a power gap in the PS4 was the most powerful console at the time. Like, why would you do a complete 180 now unless you were just trying to rub it in on a certain group of people? And to be really honest with you, from what I've seen on Twitter, that certain group of people don't give two shits what you're saying, and they're just going to come out with their own narrative and keep talking.
Yeah, I mean that's always going to be the case, right? Like
And that wheel just keeps spinning. Then it just keeps
it goes
going.
it goes around and around and around in a circle, and that's the reason why I always had my stance. I think maybe you have had your stance is slightly different. But like I don't know, like I think those people, don't you think they have less and less of a voice over time? Because like we're going into a generation where people said a lot of things for the last 4 or 5 years, and now they're going to start contradicting themselves quite a bit because it's more about the narrative
They're
than
already
it is
doing it.
it, than it is about being honest with themselves, right? And so those people are going to lose their voice. That's what it comes right down to. It's the people that have been consistent what their stance is. They're going to be around, and they're going to have a louder voice going forward. And that's just the harsh
I know
reality.
it's a little disheartening when you look at YouTube. And shout out to the YouTubers out there, putting out all the hard work. No matter what they're trying to do with their channels, like putting content together, coming up with things to talk about, things to show, coming up with innovative, entertaining ways to show it. It's a lot of work. But seeing like people pander to a certain demographic and then absolutely blow up because of it, like I think that's a bad reflection on the community. Like the community wants extremes, you know, and I don't. I'm not.
It's
I'm
just
not in
where
that
we
group.
are. It's just I understand that, and this is for content creators that refuse to do it, and even though they're hurt by it by numbers because they're not getting the views or the numbers or anything like that, just be patient, just keep going. I
Well,
mean,
I look at it
normal
more as a
YouTubers
reflection of
have to.
Something like that for my Xbox Live gamer tag. Yeah, we did Devin the Gamer yesterday on Mixer. There's a couple of sound improvements that will need to be done. And I will have those wrapped up the next time we do it. The visuals for the podcast are there, and if you don't catch it live, these are going to be uploaded on K Mega's YouTube channel. That's the agreement we have. We do it live on my Mixer, and if you can't make it live, we're gonna also be able to watch it later on K Mega's channel. So it's the first of many things that are going to happen on that. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to evolve for sure.
Nice, bro. It is cool to see, and I know K Mega must love that whole music situation over there on Mixer as well. So it's nice to use actual songs that you really like, and you don't have the man breathing down the back of your neck about it. You know what I'm saying?
It's a godsend.
Yeah.
Good grief, man.
Yo, for real. But again, huge shout out to the chat, guys. You are as much a part of this show as the rest of the panel is. I love the fact that with YouTube, people who go and check this show out afterwards, they have the chat right there next to the stream, next to the video, so this way people can see exactly what was being said in the chat at any particular point in time. Thank you guys so much for supporting this channel, for supporting this show. I really, really do appreciate it. We are actually one of the longest running podcasts within this community. Gaming podcast within this community. It is something I am really proud of. Seeing the show grow, seeing the channel grow, definitely means a lot to me. So thank you guys so much. If you haven't done it yet, hit that thumbs up button. If you haven't subscribed, definitely subscribe. But I am going to end the show the way I do every week. We will see you next Saturday for the next podcast.
Hey,
Have a great weekend, everybody. Yeah, what?
Hey, Bot, I forgot something.
What?
The Devin the Gamer store's up now.
Oh, really?
On merch.
Oh,
Yeah. Now you can hit the button.
Oh, okay.
Now. All
Carol
right.
Baskins, motherfucker.
Later,
That
everybody.
sucker! And change some damn colors on them ugly ass controllers,
Oh,
DualSense.
no.
Fucking Carol Baskins.